Hello, this is Matt Singer. I'm the arts and culture editor at Willamette Week, and my guest today is Bird, an artist and a street medic who's been working at the protest for the last 8 weeks. Bird, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.
Awesome. So let me just get some of your basic bio. So are you a Portland? Are you a Portland native? Or are you from elsewhere? What's your story?
I'm an Oregon native. I was born down south of Eugene. Lived all over. Actually, Native American as well. Um, so these issues are pretty close to my heart. But
Mhm.
went to art school in Colorado, um, and I do painting, illustration, tattoo, muraling, kind of everything. But,
Awesome. And so, how does the medic part come in? So, I guess were you? I'm assuming you have at least a little bit of a background in medicine.
um,
Okay.
Basic first aid, stuff like that. Also, I was a Eagle Scout a long time ago.
Okay.
So a lot of that training, but my role is more or less, it's very much not like medical. Um, it's more of like administering saline to people's eyes, and actually in the last few weeks it's been more just like picking people up that have been struck with impact weapons and kind of carrying them out of the zone.
Mhm. So, how did you get involved in doing that as kind of like your contribution to the protest? What did it start, right from the beginning, or did you kind of like stumble into it? How did that begin?
Very much stumbled into it. My partner and I were downtown. We just kind of went down there to see what was happening, and we wanted to help in some way. So we were doing that sort of on our own, and then just found other people that were doing it as a team, and um, ended up hooking up with them, and it's been consistent 3 or 4 nights a week.
What are some of the the stuff that stands out to you that you've seen or that you've had to treat people for um, during this?
Um, the whatever kind of gas they were using early on, um, it's brutal, but it's gotten worse, and burning eyes, burning skin, inability to breathe. Those have caused um, panic attacks, asthma attacks, seizures. We've seen that. Those are bad ones. There's a little bit of wound care. I work with some EMTs that have intense medical training, and they'll do wound care. And there've been quite a few people with impact wounds. Broken collarbone was one of them, and that split the skin as well. So they had to do sanitize and bandage like right there, kind of in the midst of the chaos. Um, and then of course, well, last week I was out probably 8 p.m. until about 4 a.m. And there were at least, personally saw at least 5 or 6 really traumatic head wounds, from, I'm assuming, rubber bullets, right to the forehead. And so just blood and, kind of like swelling blood, gaping wounds, crazy stuff like that.
So let's talk about your art. So you said that you kind of started at first doing these kind of as a just for your own mental health.
Hmm.
So tell me how it started exactly. Like what was like the first one you did?
Uh, the first one I did was the one I sent you. That's the pig cop.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because uh, I was down before the feds arrived. I was down in the protests, and it wasn't even around the federal building yet. It was sort of just on the streets in general, between like Pioneer Square and um, and Elk Park, and um, the cops would sort of bait people. It seemed like they would, kettle groups of people away from certain properties, and then as soon as we got, closer in, then they would surround and gas us. And It was one night in particular where it was uh, there was a fence across the road, um, and it was sort of it would have been at the northwest corner of that park. But there was a fence across the road. Nobody could get across it. There's a huge crowd of protesters, and the cops were just saying, "Don't touch the fence," and nobody was touching the fence at all. But completely unprovoked, they started firing gas canisters from the front and from the back. So they surrounded us and just gassed out thousands of people, and it was horrific. I was kind of running scared at that point, and didn't have a gas mask at the time, so I couldn't breathe, couldn't see. I was sort of running into things. My partner and I were falling all over each other trying to get out of the zone, and they sort of kettled people around, and the general message was, "We're here to protect Portland's property." And that, in the light of, I mean, it was really early on. So I think George Floyd had been killed maybe a week before. And that was fresh. It stung really bad that emotionally, that really the cops don't care about lives at all. Like, they were perfectly willing to hurt people, to protect property, and whatever the cops' intentions are, that became kind of real to me for the first time ever, that they really work for whoever has the most money. So that was the first one. That one was a little bit of an angry piece.
Like, how so like with that first one, you say, that was a very angry one. So like, how soon after that whole incident did you actually go and like paint this? Was it like literally the next day after that like attack?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
While you're still kind of almost feeling the rush of anger, like, are you angry in that moment still, as you're doing this piece?
I would say, yeah, for sure. I mean, I may have actually gone home that night and painted it before I slept. I can't quite remember, but I do that a lot. It is sort of like just get the creative juices out to cleanse out the vitriol,
Got it. So why watercolors? I think that's maybe why they're so striking, because I've seen, a lot of, we see a lot of art coming out of these protests, and, a lot of it is, literally painted on, spray painted on plywood and that kind of thing. And you're kind of more used to seeing that style. But I think what makes your work so striking is the actual medium of watercolors. Why do you prefer to work in that medium for these pieces?
Really, because I love the way that any kind of documentative art, that using watercolor looks. Specifically, I was always really inspired by Ralph Steadman, and he used that to great effect, during Nixon and all that, because it's not, I think watercolor is a good way to make it not a statement about the artist, but a statement about what they've seen.
Do you have any future plans? Like you said, you're kind of a gallery. That's usually how you mostly show off your work, is in a gallery setting. Obviously, we're in a weird situation right now. The pandemic is still going on. I don't know. I don't think there's any galleries that are open. But I mean, do you have kind of future plans of like what you want to do with these?
Yeah, the ultimate goal would be, victory, police reform, and peace back in Portland. And then once the pandemic is over, I'd love to take all these pieces and just do a show where I can make prints available to people, and get them out there. People can come in and we can talk about, be great for a discussion about what happened and how we heal. And I think a lot of people would probably benefit from having those available to them in the long term, so that they can, just, I don't know, have a sense of accomplishment, sense of pride, what happened and what we went through together as a city. More than anything, through this protest process, I've been so proud of my city.